Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Wednesday, March the 27th, 2019, 4:27 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So we've got new methane data to go over today. I showed you Wednesday the 20th yesterday, and now on CAMS that data is gone, and they've got data from Thursday, March 21st up. So we're going to look at that, and then we're going to go over Arctic sea ice. I have a little treat for you on that, and the melt season has begun. The maximum extent was recorded on March the 13th, and so now the sun is up and it's going to go quickly, is my opinion. And so we're going to go over that. We're going to go over a few news items, and then we're going to go over earthquakes. So we've got Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services pulled up here. Methane for the area I've got chosen is the Arctic and surface level for Thursday, March 21st. That's our only option for the day. I've already got the movie loaded up. So here's where it ended on Wednesday, with this release coming out of northern Russia here, and it's going to move across. You can see a new release in by Novaya Zemlya, and then this large release coming up here out of Russia. There's also a large release coming out of Canada. So let's run the movie and see what's going on. We've got data for one day, and then it goes into the forecast period for Friday through Monday of this week, which was 2 days ago. So in the forecast period, you can see it's just kind of dispersing. All that release was dispersing. So here's a large release in the Kara Sea Friday into Saturday, and then that kind of disperses, and then we've got a release coming out of the Chukchi Sea here. So but our big focus right this second is right here between Novaya Zemlya and the Yamal Peninsula. That's highly active. The Russians have, I presented that article a couple of days ago that they just built a big gas plant on the Yamal Peninsula, and that opened last December. And so they've had this tanker that's been going around and breaking the ice so that they can come around to the gas plant. And you're going to be able to see the track of the tanker in NASA Worldview, and it's pretty amazing to see what's happening. I mean, they just can't wait for all this ice to go up there. So there's that. Now I will put this in the background. Next, we're going to look at NASA Worldview on the Arctic sea ice. So here it is from today, March 27th. Let me refresh this and see if there's any more data that's come in. Well, that just took away half the screen. So we're just missing a little bit right here to the west of Alaska in this Bering Strait, but we can go back a day and see what it is. So there's So we're going to look at this in more detail in just a second. So I've got my GIFs already done. Here I made a GIF, or a little movie, from NASA Worldview, and this is the sea ice concentration from March the 1st through March the 25th, and you can see the date down here. And so this includes extent, and it's the concentration is more important than the extent and the thickness, because the extent, even though it looks good, if it's not very thick, it's not going to do the job that it needs to do in reflecting the solar rays and keeping everything cool up there. So on the 13th was the maximum extent that was measured, and I presented that. That was from the National Snow and Ice Data Center. So here's the 13th, and then here, since then, you can see it's starting to retreat and get thinner, even just in these few days since the sun has been up, and it's not real warm up there yet. So here's Novaya Zemlya. We can see that whatever ice is around this western edge of the island is going fast, and it's not very thick at all. And on the eastern side it's going, and we can see over here on this northern part of Canada, in this Mackenzie Bay, that's part of the Beaufort Gyre. It's kind of going back and forth. I looked at the Navy graph, and it appears that this ice, it broke away and now it's blowing back and this and that, but it's not making ice. It's just the way the wind and the ocean currents are going that it's moving it around. And then we can see the ice here in the Bering Strait. It's actually, now we see the decrease at the end of this period. It had decreased a lot, and then it came back a little bit here. See, it's coming back, and now it's, here it is on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and now it's starting to retreat. So there's that. Here is the Navy model for the sea ice thickness for today, the global for sea ice thickness, and we can see that it's just pretty thin. And when it's in this purple, it's from, well, the white is 0, and then as it goes into the lavender, it's 0.5 meter, and then when it gets to the dark purple, it's about 1 meter, and then when it goes into the blue, it starts getting thicker. That blue is about 1.25 meters, and then the dark aqua is 1.5 meters thick. Then when you get into the lighter aqua, it's moving into 2 to 2.5 meters thick. And then the green is 3. And then when you move into the yellow, it's about 3.75 meters thick. Then when you move into the orange and red, you're getting into 4 to 4.5 meters thick. And there's only a little bit where you have that red, and that was the thickest sea ice, and we can see that that's pretty much gone. So here it is like I said, from today, the sea ice that's around Greenland is quite thin. It's about 1/2 meter thick, maybe a little bit thicker closer to the coastline. And then here it is thicker. It's about 2 meters thick. And then here in the Baffin Bay, it's pretty thin on this west side of Greenland, but when it comes over to the Canada part, it's a little bit thicker. And then here you have it very thin from Novaya Zemlya over to the Yamal Peninsula and all around here. It's thin around the coastline here of Siberia, and then up here in the Mackenzie Bay. So I also have, this is the Navy gift for 30 days. It's for 3 weeks back and then a week into a forecast period. So it goes until April the 3rd. So it actually was thickening up, and it shows that it's still thickening over here, even though the extent is retreating. So it's kind of a strange setup. So there's that. Now, if we zoom in and just take a peek at the sea ice, we can kind of get a feel for what's going on. Here's Greenland, and here was that thin sea ice down here on the southeastern part of Greenland, and nothing around the tip. And then when it comes up into the Baffin Bay, here it is around the coastline. Some of this might be clouds that we're looking through, but we can we can see through them, I think, pretty good. These are clouds over here. So here's the edge of the sea ice. Here's Svalbard. So we can see that Svalbard, there's not much ice around Svalbard. Here's a little bit of ice over here on this eastern side. This is very thin ice here. Very thin. This was in that purple region on the Navy data. Here's Novaya Zemlya. We can see this Kara Sea is getting open water here all the way around there. And then when you come over here, this is the Yamal Peninsula that we were talking about, and that gas plant is right over here, well, about here. And you see this trail, it's real light. This is the trail from the icebreaker, the nuclear icebreaker that's been going through. If we go back a few days, you're able to see it a little better. So here's the trail. They have this nuclear icebreaker that's like coming through and just breaking up this ice so that they can get over here to that gas plant. And I don't know where it's going. It looks like they've broken up ice along here and over to here. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. And it looks like they've broken up around on this other side of the Yamal Peninsula too. This is a pretty good view where you can see where they broke through it and then it probably refroze. That's why you have See, you have this thicker ice, and then a whole channel has just been made there. I think it's amazing. And then it's refrozen is why there's ice there now. So they just go through with their icebreaker when they want to get, before the ship goes through, and then once they do their business, they leave it alone. They're not out there breaking through that ice all the time. So that's pretty distinct. Here's open water here. That's on the 22nd. See, you have to get days when there's not a lot of cloud cover. It's a lot easier. But let's go back to today and just see what we can see. So here's the ice edge here. And this is the 80th degree north latitude line, this line here. And the North Pole is at 90 degrees, and we can see this black circle of where the sun isn't shining is almost gone, because the sun is coming up there as the Earth, the northern part of the Earth is tilting towards the sun. And so here's what the sea ice is looking like right now. Some of this might be cloud cover. We can pull down this layer of ice surface temperature and see. Right, so this, where you see the blue, that's the actual sea ice. And where you don't see blue, that's cloud cover. So, and this is the temperature. That's pretty warm. That's 260 Kelvin. So that's pretty warm. That's going to be melting soon there. This is very warm over here. And this, look at that. That's 270. That's gonna be melting fast, and it's really warm over here. Look at that. That's about 268. Yeah. So it's even warmer down here. That's way above freezing, 279. Freezing for salt water is about 270 Kelvin, I think, something like that. It has to be below freezing for salt water to really freeze. 272 is freezing for Kelvin. So you can see the difference in the temperatures. There's quite a dramatic difference in the temperatures. This dark blue is a lot colder. Like this dark blue is 236 Kelvin. Then into the purple, that's the coldest, 234. So we'll turn that off. So this is what it looks like right now, and here was where we saw the broken up sea ice the last time I showed it. Here's open water right here. So you can see where it's a lot of thin and layers, it looks like. There's open water there. So this real thin stuff is going to go pretty fast, is what I'm thinking. And here's Alaska. There's Barrow. And Wainwright is right down here for our friend in Wainwright. See, that's open water there. And this is just a little skim of ice. There's not much there. So this is that McKenzie Bay. This is part of the Beaufort Gyre. But you can see open water through the clouds there. See, we go to yesterday and where it's less clouds, and you can definitely see a lot of open water, and you can see how broken up the sea ice already is. Here's open water. So here is the Bering Strait. There's water up around the coastline, see? And then this is just a little skim of ice. It's not very thick. And then this is water down through here. So there's that. So that's an overview of what our sea ice is looking like here on March 27th. And while we're here at NASA Worldview, I'm going to click over to the geographic view and just show you what's going on with this storm down here in Australia and New Zealand. Remember, well, here's Veronica. It's kind of fizzled out and has gone back out to sea. But, so it's pretty much done. But this is the aftermath of Trevor. And remember, it connected up with this long system, and this long system came across and it hit here it is yesterday. It hit the southern island of New Zealand and flooded so much and caused a lot of damage down there. And I've got a couple of articles to share on that. And then here it is today, where it's all just moving a little bit northeast, and now they're predicting maybe some rain on this North Island, maybe not. They don't know. But the North Island has had severe drought, and the rivers are drying up. So Trevor has just hung around to do its damage. We can't really see yet what kind of flooding is left over from NASA Worldview. We can't see it yet because it's still covered up with clouds there, and I couldn't really tell from Veronica over here. So there's that, and this cyclone Joninha it's got the big line through it today, but it's moving south and east, so it's not going to go over to Madagascar like I thought. So it's going to be losing steam quickly. So there's that. So now let's go to our news articles. This is a follow-up on the storm in New Zealand. This is from today. Some of this is a repeat of some of the information I already shared. Wild West coast weather. Gloria Reardon Hurst killed in floods. Aerial photos reveal staggering damage. I already shared this video yesterday. Here's that bridge going down. The Waipu, or Waipo, I think that's how you say it, the Waipo Bridge. That's incredible. And that kind of connected, or Waiho, that kind of connected a northern part to a southern part of the island, and without that, I mean, they're gonna have to go way out of the way to get anywhere over there. You can see the flooding on the road. And travelers are stuck because they can't. The road is all washed out and broken up, and now the bridges are gone, and the rivers are rising. But the rivers are now receding. Some areas had up to 800 millimeters of rain. So, I already read that part yesterday. But I was just sharing this with the pictures. Here's a road that's been washed out next to this Waiho River. It says aerial photos taken by the Department of Conservation reveal the staggering impact of the floodwaters washing away a bridge and gouging giant chunks out of roads. And they're saying 7 to 10 days until the connection is restored with that bridge. I don't know how they're going to build a bridge that fast. They're going to have to redo the whole thing, I imagine. Aerial photos have revealed the scale of the damage at Franz Josef. That's a glacier up there. Look at that. A large section of road has been completely washed away. Look, this is the road, and here's the river, and look at how it just came over and the whole road is gone. It's like this whole part of the hillside is gone. And here's airplanes. The floodwaters have swamped planes in the area. The washed away chunk of highway. And it was the west coast, and it was deluged by heavy rain over the past couple of days. The flooded Waiho River destroyed a bridge near Franz Josef on State Highway 6 yesterday, cutting a vital link on the west coast. And they're gonna put in a prefabricated Bailey Bridge that would take about 2 weeks to replace. It's good news, which locals were certainly happy about because it's a lifeline for the rest of the West Coast and the tourism trade as well. Another infrastructure issue was a stretch of road on the southern side of the river which had been destroyed by a large slip. And they don't know what to do about that. Anyway, tips for preparing for a storm, tips for recovering from flooding, and so on. Then I've got another news item from New Zealand. This is the weather forecast. New Zealand weather, North Island set to get drought-ending rain blast next week. And I can't play this because I'm in a restricted area because of my current geographic region. It says the North Island's dry rural regions could get their drought broken by a rain blast next week as another front sweeps into the country. Weather Watch says this may be the best shot so far this year at rain hitting the parched north. And I just showed you the system and where it might be coming in. So here's the South Island where they've gotten all that rain, and here's the North Island that hasn't gotten hardly anything. It says next week more of ex-cyclone Trevor drifts into the Tasman Sea and catches a ride with another cold front into the New Zealand area. While still not entirely locked in, the chances for rain around the North Island may be the best they've been so far this year. So it looks pretty sporadic, and it's going to be a fast-moving system. If the rain does hit, it will be dumped around Monday, April 1st and Tuesday, April 2nd. The window is fairly short as high pressure quickly moves in by Wednesday, April 3rd. So it's a crapshoot, basically. Next is a follow-up on the Mozambique floods. This is all about floods today, except for I've got one Fukushima article. This is from grist.com or .org. This is from March 25th, and this is a follow-up on Cyclone Idai that went all over Mozambique. Here's Beira, and here's the area that went underwater, this whole area. Mozambique floods cover more ground than New York City, Chicago, D.C., and Boston combined. Past flood satellite images of Mozambique show that Cyclone Idai submerged about 835 square miles of homes and fields, an area larger than New York City, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Boston combined. Aid workers in Mozambique described the floodwaters as inland oceans extending for miles and miles. Idai's official death toll in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi reached 761 on Monday, but that total will surely rise. There are reports of hundreds of bodies alongside a single road as floodwaters began to recede. Beira, Mozambique, reportedly the hardest hit city, will go down in history as having been the first city to be completely devastated by climate change. The UN has characterized the storm and its aftermath as one of the worst weather-related disasters ever recorded in the Southern Hemisphere, As a result, the UN World Food Program now considers it one of its top concerns globally, on par with the wars in Syria, Yemen, and South Sudan, estimating that some 3 million people have been affected, nearly half of them children. On Monday, the UN launched a $282 million appeal for aid to cover the initial 3 months of its response to the cyclone. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump agreed to send the U.S. military to help support the ongoing international relief operation, 3 days after a formal request from the Mozambique government. It's still flooded. Mozambique received nearly a year's worth of rainfall in the days following Cyclone Idai, consistent with findings that rainstorms are becoming stronger and more common as Earth's atmosphere warms up. After centuries of colonial rule by Portugal and decades of war after independence, in which the U.S. played an active role, Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in the world, a stark reminder of the inherent injustice of climate change, that those least responsible for greenhouse gas emissions are bearing its worst consequences. An estimated 128,000 survivors have made their way to temporary camps near Beira, with an escalating risk of cholera and other waterborne diseases. The Red Cross announced plans to provide humanitarian support to 200,000 people for up to 2 years. The scale and scope of suffering and damage is breathtaking. So there's that. So there will be more. This is just the beginning. And when I go through my news feed and everything is about floods or water, this is just the beginning. Seriously. Okay. Here's my next article. This is from newscenter1.tv. Estimated 11,900 South Dakota wells potentially contaminated by floodwater. This is from March 25th. So now we're looking at the flood in the middle of the United States. This is a photo from Iowa, from Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So this whole farm is underwater. There's the house. You can see the water is up to the windows. Here's all the silos where they had their grain stored. So, Westerville, Ohio. The National Groundwater Association, or NGWA, says that floodwater containing dangerous microbes such as E. coli and coliform could potentially contaminate thousands of wells that are located in flood-impacted areas in the Midwest region. Over 1 million wells are located in flooded areas, and NGWA says a substantial amount of those could become contaminated. This is because many of the affected areas rely on groundwater to supply rural and small town populations. South Dakota has an estimated 11,900 wells that may be impacted. And here's a picture. Let's see if we can get a bigger view of that. That didn't help. 10 flood-impacted Midwest states have 1 million wells, in 300 affected counties. So these circles are the big areas. And for instance, well count in flood impacted counties. Wisconsin has 281,000. Minnesota has almost 255,000. Illinois 201,000. Iowa 153,000. Missouri 96,000. Nebraska almost 77,000. Indiana 24,000. South Dakota almost 12,000. Kentucky almost 10,000, and Kansas 3,000. Total 1,114,157. That's awful. That's unbelievable. Household, farm, and small business wells situated in valleys and plains could be in standing water for days, raising the potential for contamination, particularly if a well's structure is cracked or faulty. Exposure to E. coli, coliform, and other pathogenic microbes from human and animal fecal matter in floodwaters is a common health concern following a major flooding event. Floodwater can also carry other contaminants. And the NGWA recommends that owners test and monitor their systems, and they need to disinfect, and wellhead repairs are commonly needed after a flooding event. And here's the link to the Flood Resource Center. So that breaks my heart. It's just more. It's just more and more and more. I got so much bad news today. So much bad news. And then, out of Brazil, this is from phys.org. Can't be called water. Brazil marks 2 months since dam disaster. This is from March 23rd. Look at that water. That looks awful. 2 months after an upstream tailings dam owned by mining giant Vale burst, local fisherman Jose Geraldo dos Santos says the river is too polluted for fishing or even for his animals to drink. Brazilian fisherman Jose Geraldo dos Santos uses a long pole to push his boat down the reddish-brown Paraopeba River, taking care not to splash himself with water he says is toxic. 2 months after an upstream tailings dam owned by mining giant Vale burst, spewing millions of tons of minerals-laced sludge across the countryside, the 67-year-old says the river is too polluted for fishing or even for his animals to drink. So contaminated is the tributary to the São Francisco River, the second largest in Brazil, says Dos Santos, that he's been advised to not even step in the mud. The researchers who came here said it will take 8 to 10 years for the river to recover. And the dam ruptured on January 25th. Emergency crews continue the slow process of picking through the mud looking for bodies. At least 210 people were killed and 96 are missing. And they're saying that it's one of Brazil's worst industrial disasters on water quality downstream. Look at that. Before the dam collapsed, the water was crystal clear, full of fish. It's got a lot of pollutants in it. Anyway, they saw concentrations of copper, iron, manganese, and chromium that exceed the maximum limits allowed by Brazilian law. Look, it's all red. So that's what they're doing to Mother Earth. Okay, and my last bad news article for today. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it always can. This is from FukushimaDiary.com. From March 23rd. Radioactive material released from Fukushima plant doubled up since last year. There's the plant, what's left of it. Let me see if I can read this better. That's better. The released amount of cesium-137 and cesium-134 from the crippled reactors in Fukushima plant reached over the double compared to the previous year. TEPCO released their monthly report about the additional atmospheric contamination on February 25, 2019. According to the report, from January 2018 to January 2019, 933 million becquerels of cesium-137 and cesium-134 were released from the buildings of reactor 1, 2, 3, and 4 in total. It was 471 million becquerels during the corresponding period of the previous year. So it's more than doubled. TEPCO comment is likely to be affected by debris removal tasks around reactor 1, etc. They avoid mentioning further details. So there you have it. Just when you thought you couldn't get any more bad news, you always can. See? So that's not stopping. That is an extinction level event given enough time, because that pollution is just coming out into the water and into the air, and it's being circulated around the planet over and over and over again. It bioaccumulates in our bodies and in the plants and in the animals, and this by itself is an extinction level event that will eventually kill the planet, all life on the planet, and it's a slow kill. It will cause the most suffering that it can, and this is what Satan does, and this is what the dark side does, and they feed on suffering, they feed on pain, they feed on anguish, they feed on all of that, and so this is what's happening. This is what's happening. So now we're going to do our earthquake report. And today I had USGS, all magnitudes for the last 24 hours pulled up, and we're showing 347 earthquakes worldwide. So that's up from yesterday. It's definitely up. And of those, 62 are 2.5 magnitude and higher. So we've got an uptick. Got lots of activity going on. Let's see what's about to come off the map. This 4.6 in Indonesia came in yesterday at 5:30, 200 kilometers deep. I think I showed this. I don't know, I might have a little bit of overlap. It happened on land at Mozambique, Indonesia at 5:30 yesterday, 200 kilometers deep. The next one to come off the map is this 4.5 near Arica, Chile at 5:34 yesterday, 44 kilometers deep. So let's just start down here in South America. So we got 3 in this same area. We had a 4.5 near Calama at 7:55 last night, 150 kilometers deep, and a 4.8 near Putre, Chile at 8:57 last night, 128 kilometers deep. And these times are in Pacific time because that's my time zone. Then there was a 4.4 near Las Ovejas, Argentina at 1:27 this afternoon. Next, up here off the Mexico coastline was a 4.1 near Puerto Angel, Mexico at 1:16 this morning. Coming on around this ring of fire, South Pacific, Tonga, Fiji, New Zealand are quiet. Papua New Guinea's quiet. We saw okay, let's go to this one right here. Here's a 5.0. Well, there's actually 2 here. They're covered up. First, there was a 4.9 near Maritzo Village, Guam at 1:09 this afternoon, 35 kilometers deep. And then 1 minute later at 1:10 this afternoon was a 5.0 at the same place, 35 kilometers deep. So 1 minute later, 2 big ones, 4.9 and 5.0. I don't know what that means when you see them in pairs like that. Okay, I showed that one. Next, off the coast of Sumatra is a 4.6 near Kurapan, Indonesia at 12:34 this afternoon, 22 kilometers deep. Coming on around. 4.1 near Prom, Burma at 9:39 this morning, 52 kilometers deep. China has a cluster. They've got 3 in the same region. 4.8 near Xinjiang, Qinghai border region, China. Came in this afternoon at 2:36 this afternoon. Then a 4.2 at the same place at 3:57 this afternoon. And then a 4.5 3 minutes later at the same place at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We're seeing a lot more on land over here. 4.2 near Musa Kel Bazar, Pakistan at 10:13 this morning, 42 kilometers deep. 4.2 near Birjand, Iran at 9:13 this morning. Here's a 4.3 near Bandar Abbas, Iran at 9:52 last night. It's right on that red line. then 4.3 near Akipayam, Turkey at 4:27 this morning. This is shallow. It's 2.5 kilometers deep. Those are the international earthquakes. Now, let's go to all magnitudes and start with Hawaii. We've got 7 here today. Got 3 here in the ocean. 3 or 4, I can't tell. I'll call them off. 1.9, 2.5, 1.9, 2.0, that's near Mauna Loa, 2.6, 2.1, and 2.1. So most of them were right down here off the coast of Pahala. Moving on over to the Dominican Republic, we're showing 22 here today. So, tier 2s and 3s, 2.4, 3.1, 3.2, 0.7, 1.7, 2.6, 2.4, 2.4, 3.0, 3.4, getting higher, 2.7, 2.7, 2.2, 2.8, 2.5, 2.6, 3.2, 3.1, 2.9, 3.0, 3.1, and 2.2. And that last one came in at 2:26 this afternoon near San Juan, Puerto Rico. So that's an uptick in the numbers there. Not enough to do damage, but it's definitely showing movement. And little ones can lead to bigger ones. That's what we've seen. Now in Alaska, we've got 151 here, all magnitudes since yesterday. Most of them are right up here in this Kobuk area. So let's just go there right now and see what's happening up here. I'm going to include this little one down here. We've got 79 in the last 24 hours here at Kobuk. That's incredible. Look how they're all stacked up. And when I tried to look at this area on Google Earth, it's a blurred out image, and that's indicative of some kind of government operation or something when you can't get zoomed in for a clear view. So I have no idea what's going on up here because I can't get a clear view, but it's going crazy. It's just every few minutes, they've just been going off. So here's a 3.7. Most of them are smaller than that. Most of them are in the 2s. We've got some in the 1s. Here's a 2.3. A lot of them are very shallow. This is at 0 kilometers depth, so it's at the surface. Here's a 1.9 with 0 kilometers depth, 2.10 depth, 1.50 depth. It's just curious. It's just curious what's going on up here. 2.20 depth, 2.3.9 kilometers depth, and so on. It's but something's happening. And the last one just came in at 4:49 this afternoon, 0 kilometers depth. So of those, let's see how many are 2.5 magnitude and higher. 14 are. And most of those are 3s. Here's a 4.3. That looks like the highest. And remember, we saw that 5 point something there yesterday, and it had been upgraded. It had come in at a 5.5, then it got upgraded to a 6.0, then it got downgraded to like a 5.2 or something. So these are all as after that larger one, and a lot of them are showing 0 depth. Even on these larger ones, this 3.7, 0 depth. But some of them are pretty deep. Here's that 4.3 was 24 kilometers deep. So it's all over the map here. So I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Except it's very concerning to me. Up here at Koktovik, we had a 3.6 at 4:43 this morning. So there's Kobuk. And then coming on down, they're just peppered around, coming down. Let's see. Here's one down here. 2.5 near Sandpoint. No more in the Aleutian Islands. Here's some. Let's check these out. Here's a 2.1, 2.1, and these are 0 depth. I don't understand. 1.4 near Old Iliamna. That's a volcano at 119 kilometers depth. That one came in at 4:51 this afternoon. And then there are quite a few down here in this Cook Inlet. 1.5. Look, this one was deep. Well, deeper, 106 kilometers. 1.5, 1.5, 1.7, 101 kilometers deep. 1.2 near Redoubt Volcano, 103 kilometers deep. 1.5 near Redoubt, 102 kilometers deep. 1.6 near Redoubt, 85 kilometers deep, and so on. So 2.5 Diamond Ridge, 1.5 near Fritz Creek. So here's the anchorage area. It's not a huge amount, but it's still showing activity. It's showing 14 there today. In the ones and twos, the largest one's at 2.6. Then we've got some over here, small, 2.2, and so forth. So, what just happened down here in Hawaii? This is new. That just happened. A 2.2. That's at Kilauea. That is in the crater at Kilauea at 0 kilometers deep at 5:25 this afternoon. That just now happened because it's 5:31 now on my clock. And 2.1, that one came in at 4:51. But that one at Kilauea just happened. So the magma is on the move. It's on the rise. It's shaking and quaking. Now, uh-oh, what happened down here? Oh, we've got a new one. It just got registered. 4.1 near Puerto Angel. Oh, I saw that. No, right here in Guatemala. 4.1 near Magdalena, Milpas Altas, Guatemala. 3 kilometers southeast of that. This one came in at 346. But they just now put it on the map, because that wasn't there before. There was only one there before. Okay, now we're in the lower 48. Let's see what's going on. 2.8 near Chickasha, Oklahoma at 11:17 this morning. Now in Utah, we've got 7 here today. We've got a 1.5 at Gunnison, 1.8 at Gunnison, 1.8 East Carbon City, 1.2 at Farron, 1.8 at Farron, 1.7 at Farron, and 1.2 at Milford. So this East Carbon City one was at minus 2.1 kilometers deep. Do we know what that means? If you've been listening to my shows, you know what that means. Now up here in the Yellowstone region, we've got 2 at Soda Springs, Idaho, a 2.7 that came in at 6:34 last night, and a 1.9 at 1:21 this morning at a minus 1 kilometers depth. You know what that means. And a 0.8 up here near West Yellowstone, Montana at 2:15 this afternoon. .9 near Manhattan, Montana at 9:48 last night. And then a 1.0 near Lincoln, Montana at 6 o'clock last night. And a 1.2 near Phillipsburg, Montana at 10:14 this morning. Then, moving on up, we've got one across the border in Canada, 2.1 near Creston, Canada at 4:45 this morning. Now, notice how you don't see any earthquakes being reported in the Washington area or the Oregon area today, and it's just so curious to me. Why are they not being reported? You would think there's no activity, right? But I've been doing a little bit of research, and I have a little treat for everyone today. This is called real-time tremor. This is a real-time tremor map, and this shows activity before it becomes an earthquake, and it shows tremors, and all of these little red dots is a tremor, and you can select for the last 3 hours, 6, 12, 24, or 48. And they found in the last 3 hours they've got 4 listed, and it's just for the Pacific Northwest and California, Northern California. That's all it's for. So, but if we look at the last 24 hours, check it out. Look at all of those. Unbelievable. Look at all these tremors. And you can click like the last one right there, and it pops up, and it's down here next to Reading. They give the longitude and latitude, the date, and the time. 3:25. That's when they put it on the map. And you can zoom in. Here's one all by itself, and you can click on it. Well, there you go. You got to get the little finger on it. That one was at 2:20. I wonder if these are UTC time. Oh, Pacific Daylight Time. Well, that's good to know. But they're mainly, here's Redding, California. So they're up here in these mountainous areas to the northwest of Redding. Medford is right there. So when we're looking here, for instance, here's Redding and there's nothing there, but we're showing all these tremors right up here in this region. So something's going on. Here's Shasta, and Shasta is a volcano. There's Shasta Lake. Where's Mount Shasta? I get lost up here. Anyway, and we also have, and little ones lead to big ones, remember. So we can come on up the map and then up here in Washington, here's all these tremors coming down from the Olympia area and down here. So there's those. And that's just in the last 24 hours. You can also click on 48 and it's even more. And even see some up here in the little inlet in the bays in the water. So here it is for 48 hours. Look at that. That's just covered up. Just flipping me out. The stuff is happening. Just because it's not being reported on doesn't mean it's not happening. And you can also click here, and that takes you to another part of the website, and it's a more interactive tremor map. So I'll leave the link below on this. It's in my links for possible links that I use. I've added that to my links in my links below. So I just think that's we will be referring to our tremor map now. Okay. Now looking over here at Northern California, we've got one right here on this San Andreas fault line, a 2.6 that came in at 7:58 last night, and then one on land near Ferndale, a 2.3 that came in at 6:37 last night. Let's come on over to Reno, the Reno area. We've got 5 at Cold Springs today. We've been seeing some clusters here recently. Here's a 1.6, 0.3, 0.7 at 0 kilometers depth, 1.4 and 1.2. Then we've got these 3 near Truckee, a 1.6, 1.1 and 0.6. Reno's clear, Lake Tahoe's clear, Carson City. Now this is, you know, to see so few on the map is, you kind of wonder what's going on when you see 4 at Hawthorne, 4 little ones at Hawthorne. You start wondering what the heck is going on. And when you see 3 down here in southern Nevada, 3 or 4, you just gotta wonder, the biggest one being a 1.4 at 0 kilometers depth, What is it with all these 0 kilometers depth? Or are they just not getting the measurement now? Or are they really at that depth? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm in no man's land. I don't know. So, let's go to Mammoth Lakes next. Including that little one over there. We've got 7 on the map today. We've got a 0 magnitude at a minus 1.3 kilometers depth. That's kind of like a tremor. That's like where the tremor goes up to an earthquake, and that's at 0 magnitude. It's up in the mountain. 1.1, 0.8, 1.6, 0.3, 0.5 at a minus 0.1 kilometers depth, and a 0.2 at a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. So it's got movement up in the mountain. 1.3 near Big Pine. 1.0 at Lone Pine. 0.9 at Little Lake. 2.2, they're calling it near Pahrump, but it's in California. Here's 2. 1.4 Bodfish. 2.4 Tehachapi, that's a little bit bigger. Coming on down into Southern California. 1.3 near Acton. Here's one in Baja, 1.9 near Progreso. So we're seeing 63 here in Southern California today. So it doesn't look like that many, so they must be stacked. Here, like at Kauai, we're seeing a whole big cluster. This is active again. We've got 25 in this viewing area, with the majority of them right here. Most of them are small. Here's a 2.5. And most of them are under 1. But 25. Little ones lead to big ones. Here's a 1.0. Just remember, it's showing activity. And then remember, we had this swarm at Fontana yesterday, and we've got 19 here today. Here's a 2.0. These are 1s and under, except for that one. And then the last one was a 0.7 at 10:26 this morning. Let's see. In Southern California, what's 2.5 and higher? I got that. 2.5 near Aguanga. No, I didn't get that. Anyway, it's down here somewhere. So, coming on up the San Andreas fault line. Did I get this? Tehachapi, yep. We've got a 0.9 at Parkfield. Here's a 2.3 Ridgemark. 1.9 San Juan Bautista. 1.2 Gilroy. We've got two of them here at Morgan Hill, a 2.3 and a 2.4. And these happened about 30 seconds apart. So another pair that happened at the same time. Here's a 1.2 magnitude quarry blast near Loyola at 1:02 this afternoon at a minus 0.3 kilometers depth. Here's a 2.3 near Concord at 8:29 last night. And we've got this one on land in the San Francisco area, 1.5 near Lucas Valley, Marinwood at 2:45 this afternoon at a minus 0.7 kilometers depth. And then we got these in the San Francisco Bay. So we've got 4 right there. We got a 2.8 that happened at 4:27 this morning, and a 2.5 at 4:27. So at the same time, how far apart? They were 23 seconds apart. And then a 1.4 at 4:42 this morning. So just a little bit, not much time after, about 15 minutes. 20, yeah, about 20 minutes. And then a 1.6 at 12:12 this morning, and a 1.5 at 2:45 this afternoon. And this was at, oh, I already showed that one. So there's that. We've got an uptick in the San Francisco area, and now the geysers, we've got 27 here today, including this one, this 1.0 at Lower Lake. Of these, they're all under 2.5 magnitude. Most of them are under 1. So 27 right there. So I think that could be a wrap. So let's zoom out and see what's come in recently that we need to look at. Somalia. This one just came in. It's a 4.5 near Lascaux, Somalia at 4:37 this afternoon. Right down here in this Gulf of Aden, right on the red line. So let's zoom out. I had a coughing fit. I had to pause that. So I think that's it. So I'd like to remind everyone that time is short. No one knows the day or the hour, and I don't know when it's going to be. So we're not supposed to know everything. We need to have faith, and we need to have trust in God that that we'll be rescued at the correct time. And that if your physical body isn't rescued, your soul will be. So I love you guys, and until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and goodbye.